So you now have at your disposal 4 tools with which you can diagram any argument of any complexity, of any length, on any subject. Subarguments, independent premises, dependent premises, and unstated premises. Let's review what you're going to be asked of in this particular step. You'll be given fairly short, fairly well-defined arguments. They'll get more complex as the exercises go on. For each argument, you're going to be asked to produce a list of claims numbered individually. Be very careful about not combining multiple ideas into one particular numbered premise. Each premise should have a single concept. Accompanying that list of claims, you will have a graphic representation using single arrows or double arrows as needed according to the structure of the argument that captures the architecture of the argument, that captures the relationship of evidence. Be very careful with this. You're only interested in the relationship of giving evidence for. A lot of times when we're getting used to diagramming, we start diagramming things like chronology. This event that this claim is about happened before this event, so I'll put an arrow between them. You're only interested in one particular relationship, the relationship of giving evidence for. Now, these arguments will be relatively short, relatively simple. Still in all, there may be cases where your diagram looks different from another person's diagram. Your diagram may look different from mine. There are going to be many points at which you're going to have to make judgments. For any given argument, there are probably an infinite number of correct diagrams, and then there are probably an infinite number of incorrect diagrams. Let me show you how I evaluate diagrams. I will ask questions that you yourself can ask in order to check your own diagrams. These methods of evaluation are completely transparent. I don't have any mysterious code that I'm going to use that you won't have access to. So let's say I'm looking at an argument, and you produce a diagram that looks like this. This is how I'm going to evaluate the diagram. I'm first going to say, does the student accurately capture the conclusion of the argument? Now, if the answer here is no, if it turns out that the conclusion has been completely misunderstood or completely misphrased, most of the time I'll stop right there. I won't even look at this because the chances of this being correct are virtually nil. So is the conclusion correct? You're good at that. You passed step 2, so we shouldn't have any concerns. Then I will say, do 2 and 3 together produce evidence for 1? And if it's not clear, I might test myself by saying, are they dependent or are they independent? Well, what happens if one is falsified? Does the other one still produce evidence, or is it moot? So I double check that. Are they dependent? Okay. Now I will say, does 4 give evidence for 3? Does 5 give evidence for 3 independently? Or maybe do 4 and 5 have a different job? Maybe does the author intend them to give evidence for 1 or even 6? Do these arrows mirror the author's intention? Then I will ask this, does 6 give evidence to 4? Then I will ask, are there any premises that have been missed? Is there anything in the argument that doesn't show up in the diagram? Not word for word, but concepts. Are there any claims that are functioning that are missing from this diagram? If so, that's going to be a problem. All of these questions you can ask of yourself. One final note. The diagram of an argument has absolutely no relation, I can't underline this enough, no relationship to the order that the ideas are presented in the original argument. So don't, for example, trust that the conclusion will be in the first paragraph or in the last paragraph. It may be smack in the middle. It may be unstated entirely. Don't assume that everything that has a certain topic must be in the same place. You may be talking about taxes in a given argument, but there might be some claims about taxes here and some claims about taxes in an entirely different branch. You cannot put too much faith in the location of assertions. That's not what you're interested in. You're interested in how these ideas fit together according to the arguer. So let's look at some actual arguments and come up with some diagrams that function as a kind of blueprint, as a kind of X-ray, to show us how the relationships of evidence are functioning.